The city of Oklahoma City is currently trembling, but it isn't because of the weather. It's because of a single leaked phone call that has effectively detonated the most promising young dynasty in NBA history. For years, we've heard the same narrative. Be patient, the picks are coming, the chemistry is building, and it worked. By April 2026, the Oklahoma City Thunder weren't just a team of the future, they were the 64-win juggernaut at the top of the Western Conference. They had the MVP in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Defensive Player of the Year runner-up in Chet Holmgren, and a war chest of draft picks that made other GMs lose sleep. But behind the scenes, the Golden Boy is done waiting. Reliable sources close to the situation have confirmed a bombshell. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has officially issued an ultimatum to Sam Presti. The request is simple, devastating, and non-negotiable. Trade me to a big market, specifically the Lakers or the Knicks, or I am sitting out. In an era where player empowerment has reached its zenith, this is the ultimate power move. But for the Thunder faithful, it feels like a knife in the heart. Today, we're diving into the secret trade request that just ended the OKC dynasty before it could even secure a ring. This is the story of how Shai Gilgeous-Alexander decided that the small market crown wasn't enough. To understand why this is so shocking, you have to look at the state of the Thunder just weeks ago. They were the darlings of the league. Shai wasn't just a star, he was the clutch player of the year, a 31-point-per-game assassin who seemed to embody the humble, hard-working ethos of Oklahoma City. He didn't post cryptic tweets, he didn't complain about the lack of national media attention, he just won. The 2025-26 season was supposed to be their coronation. They had just finished a dominant regular season, securing the #1 seed with a defensive rating that stifled the league. Chet Holmgren had evolved into a unicorn. Jalen Williams was a fringe all-star. Everything was perfect. But the ultimatum suggests that Shai saw something the rest of us didn't, or perhaps he saw something better elsewhere. Despite the wins, the whispers in Shai's ear have reportedly grown louder. In the age of social media and global branding, being the king of Oklahoma is different from being the face of the New York Knicks or the heir to the Lakers' throne. The report claims Shai told Sam Presti, "I've given you 7 years. I've helped build this from the ashes, but I won't spend my prime in a city that doesn't move the needle for my brand." Why these two teams? It's the classic big market gravitational pull. Let's start with the New York Knicks. Under Leon Rose, the Knicks have transformed from a laughingstock into a perennial 50-win team. They have the assets, they have the grit, and they have Madison Square Garden. But they've always been one true superstar away from being the favorites. Imagine Shai Gilgeous-Alexander under the bright lights of MSG, orchestrating a backcourt with Jalen Brunson. It's a marketing dream. It's the Mecca finding its savior. Then there's the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers are in a state of transition. LeBron James is in the twilight of his career, and the franchise is desperate for a torchbearer to take over from Anthony Davis. For Shai, LA represents the peak of the lifestyle athlete, the fashion, the Hollywood connections, the global reach. It's everything OKC isn't. But here is the problem. Neither of these teams can afford him. To get a player like Shai, a 27-year-old MVP in his absolute prime, you don't just trade picks, you trade a franchise's entire future. We're talking about a package that would make the Rudy Gobert or Kevin Durant trades look like pocket change. If the Knicks want him, they'd have to give up Mikal Bridges, a mountain of unprotected first-round picks, and likely a young cornerstone like Josh Hart or Dante DiVincenzo. If the Lakers want him, they'd practically have to hand over the keys to the Crypto.com arena. The Lakers don't even have the draft capital to enter the room unless they include Anthony Davis, and even then, Sam Presti might just hang up the phone. Sam Presti is widely considered the most patient man in basketball. He spent years hoarding picks, waiting for this exact moment where his team was the best in the West. He built a fortress, but no fortress can survive an internal explosion. If Shai is willing to sit out, Presti loses all his leverage. If Shai refuses to play, the Thunder go from title favorites to a team in a tailspin. This isn't just about losing a player, it's about the death of a philosophy. The OKC model was built on the idea that if you draft well, treat players right, and win, they will stay. Small market teams across the league, like the Bucks, the Nuggets, and the Grizzlies, all look to OKC as the blueprint. If Shai walks, the blueprint is shredded. It sends a message to every other young star. Even if you win 60 games, even if you're the MVP, you can't truly make it until you're in a coastal city. The locker room impact is even worse. Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams have tied their careers to Shai. They play for him. They defer to him. To find out your leader wants out via a leak, that's how dynasties turn into what-ifs. On the legal battle, the $380 million problem. There's another layer to this, the money. Shai is currently eligible for a historic 5-year, $380 million Supermax extension. It would be the largest contract in the history of the NBA. By demanding a trade now, Shai is effectively walking away from a guarantee of nearly $80 million a year in Oklahoma. Why? Because the ultimatum implies that he values the big market endorsements and the lifestyle more than the guaranteed NBA paycheck. But there's a catch. Under the new collective bargaining agreement, the league has made it much harder for players to sit out and still get paid. If Shai follows through on his threat to sit, he could face massive fines and lose his eligibility for certain awards. But at Shai's level, the fines are a drop in the bucket. He knows that the NBA is a star-driven league. If a player of his caliber wants out, he almost always gets out. Just ask James Harden or Anthony Davis or Ben Simmons. The secret trade request isn't just a request, it's a hostage situation. So where do we go from here? The Thunder are currently in the middle of a playoff run. They're supposed to be focused on a ring, but instead, the headlines are dominated by Shai's desire to leave. If this request is real, and the sources suggest it is, the OKC dynasty ended the moment that ultimatum was delivered. You can't come back from this. Even if Presti convinces him to play out the season, the trust is gone. The chemistry is poisoned. We're watching the death of a dream. We thought the Thunder were the next Golden State, a group of homegrown stars who would rule the league for a decade. Instead, they might end up as the next 2012 Thunder, a group of what could have been talents that were broken apart by greed, ego, and the lure of the big lights. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wanted to be a legend. He might get his wish of playing in New York or LA, but in Oklahoma City, his legacy is already burning. The day the OKC dynasty ended wasn't a loss on the court, it was a choice made in a boardroom. The future is here, but for the Thunder, it looks incredibly dark.